Hi everyone, my name is Cecilia with Borders and Beyond, and today we have a very special treat for you. We are going to discuss some polling, okay? We're going to discuss President Donald Trump's approval rating according to Reuters. So, initially, what I wanted to do is I actually wanted to do the Gallup polling, but as of right now, it is let's see. It's my standard time, 8:15 p.m. Central Standard. Okay, and as of now, the Gallup page is not working, which is crazy. I'm gonna try it just real quick, but the page is down. Okay, it's back up. We will get it. We will get that going. But like literally less than 5 minutes ago, the page was down. So we want to do a special session. This is the polling edition of Borders and Beyond, and we want to discuss his approval rating. So let's get this going. I'm going to set this up for you so that we can look at it together, okay? And I'm maximizing it so that when we look at it together, you'll be able to read along with me. So let me transition into that screen. And we are going to review together his latest approval rating, okay? And this is from the Gallup poll. This is a very reputable polling agency here in the United States. And the headline is Trump's job approval rating at 45%. Congress's jumps to 29%. Okay. And this was put together by Megan Brennan from the Gallup polling. Okay. So we'll go through this together. And again, I'll maximize it just so we can, this will look better. So here's some story highlights. And again, we're talking about Trump's polling according to the Gallup. Trump's ratings is similar on immigration, foreign affairs, trade, and economy. Okay? Republicans broadly approve of Trump's job overall on issues. And there is a 12.1-month rise in approval of Congress to 29% due to GOP. Okay, let's get into it. Washington, D.C. Less than 1 month into his second term in office, President Donald Trump's job approval rating is at 45%, similar to his first post-inauguration reading of 47% in January. Okay, so it's just decreased by 2 points from 47% in January to 45%. Okay? Trump's ratings on several issues that his administration has targeted in the first weeks of his presidency are similar to his overall rating, including on immigration. He's got a 46% approval rate. Foreign affairs at 44%, foreign trade at 42%, and on the economy, 42%. Meanwhile, slightly fewer Americans, 40% each, approve of the president's handling of the situations in Ukraine and in the Middle East between the Israelis and Palestinians, as fewer offer opinions of his performance on these two issues. All right, so let's get right into the actual data, okay? I am an analyst by trade, and I love me some data. So let's get into this. Here we go. Trump's approval ratings. I actually like this one better. Let's see. I like this one better. Let's go back to this one. Okay. So President Donald Trump's job approval ratings. The green will represent his approval rate. The orange will represent his disapproval rate. And the gray is no opinion. Okay. So overall job performance is at 45% approval and 51% disapproval with a 5% of no opinion. Okay? On immigration, he's got a 46% approval, a 51% disapproval, and it's this must be okay. In foreign affairs, he's got a 44% approval rate and 53% disapproval. On the economy, he's got a 42% approval rate and 54% disapproval rate. On foreign trade, he's got a 42% approval rate and 53% disapproval rate. Okay, and again, here are the numbers here. The green is approve, the orange is disapprove. We were just talking about foreign trade, 42% approval, 53% disapproval. In the situation in Ukraine, he's got a 40% approval rate and a 46% disapproval rate. On the situation in the Middle East between the Israelis and Palestinians, he's got a 40% approval rate and 51% disapproval rate. Again, this is according to the Gallup poll. Very reputable, very, very reputable polling organization. These numbers are as of Feb 3rd through the 16th of 2025, and the percentages may not add up to 100 due to rounding. Okay, so on the Gallup website itself, you're able to download images and to get the actual data. Okay, the latest ratings are from a February 3rd through 16th Gallup poll conducted as Trump continued to sign an unprecedented number of executive orders, memoranda, and proclamations addressing a wide array of policy areas, including the 6 covered in the survey. Now, we're going to break it down partisan by party. Republicans register high approval of Trump. 93% of Republicans, 37% of independents, and 4% of Democrats approve of Trump's job performance overall. Republicans also broadly approve of the president's handling of immigration with a 92% of Republican approval. Okay? Foreign affairs at 90% of Republican approval, the economy at 90% of Republican approval, and foreign trade of 89% of Republican approval. Another 80% of Republicans each approve of Trump's handling of the situations of the Middle East and Ukraine. At the same time, Democrats register single-digit approval ratings of Trump on all 6 issues measured. Aside from independents, 40% rating for the president's performance on immigration. The ratings range from 31% on the economy to 37% of foreign affairs. So what does that mean in English? Okay, this is very, very partisan percentages. I mean, the gap is massive. 93% of Republicans approve of Trump overall. Okay, 40% of rating here on the president's performance on immigration, and 31% on the economy, and 37% on foreign affairs. Is very, very biased. The 89% point partisan gap, that's a lot, y'all, in Trump's overall job approval rating is among the highest Gallup has measured for any president. Look at this, guys. There's an 89% point partisan gap. Okay? This is not new. If you are an American or if you are someone who lives in the United States, this country is very polarized. Okay? This country is split. Clearly, 89% point partisan gap. The only larger gaps were 90 and 92 points, also for Trump. Okay? I know that you know, watching this video, that you've lived in the previous administration, that we were just as polarized, okay, from the last administration. This is not a surprise. The numbers are numbers, and the numbers don't lie. And again, this is Gallup, okay, very reputable, okay. There is a gap. The only larger gaps were 90 and 92 points, also for Trump, both in the fall of 2020. as he sought re-election to a second term. The next highest partisan gap in approval was 88 points for Joe Biden in 2021. And I do remember that, okay? So right now, we are at 89% point partisan gap between the perception of Trump with Republicans at 93% versus Democrats in the single digits, okay? Single digit disapproval, okay? It's very, very low. All right, let's go to the actual graph with data. This is percentage of approval, okay? Side-by-side comparisons. You saw it here verbatim. Now you're going to see it graphically visualized. Overall job approval. Republicans of Trump, 93% approve. 37% of independents approve, and only 4% of Democrats approve of Trump's overall performance. Okay, that's a gap of 89% that we literally just outlined here. Okay, on immigration, 92% of Republicans are approve, 6% of Democrats approve, and 40% of independents approve. There's an 86 gap percentage between Republicans and Dems on immigration. On foreign affairs, look at this gap, y'all. This is crazy. On foreign affairs, 90% of Republicans approve of Trump's foreign affairs versus Democrats, only 4% of Democrats approving foreign affairs. On foreign trade, 89% approve and 6% of Democrats approve. On the economy, okay, this is very, very serious things that affect day-to-day Americans. On foreign trade, foreign affairs, these economy issues affect your everyday American, okay? 90% of Republicans approve of the economy, where 5% of Democrats approve of the economy under Trump, okay? On the situation in the Middle East, 80% of Republicans approve and 8% of Republicans approve. Situation in Ukraine, 80% of Republicans approve and only 9% approve. Okay? Again, there's a way for you to fetch the data and download images if you so choose to from the Gallup polling. I'm showing you guys the actual website, News Gallup, okay? Trump's rating better than the first term, worse than all presidents since 1953. Trump's job approval rating is 15%. Trump's approval rating is 15 points below the historical average for all other elected presidents in mid-February since 1953. Okay, so we're comparing the historical average of all of the presidents since 1953, and Trump, his rating is 15 points below. Okay, that's very important. Now, if you compare his term to the first term, it's 5 points higher. Okay, so in comparison to other presidents since 1953, he's 15 points below the historical average, but in comparison to the first term, it's 5 points higher. Okay, Bill Clinton has the next lowest mid-February rating for a newly inaugurated president, which at 51% is 6 points higher than where Trump is now. John Kennedy at 72% and Jimmy Carter at 71% were the highest rated at this point in their presidencies. Okay, so there's a comparison there. Before Trump's first term, the gap in partisans' approval of presidents in their first February in office ranged from 21 to 60 points. In 2017, that gap rose to 79 points for Trump, increased further to 84 points, and is now a record high. This is a gap, partisan gap, what this is saying in other terms, in other way, we are continuing the trend of polarization. This country is headed in the wrong direction, and the numbers are showing it. There is now a record high 89-point gap between Democrats and Republicans, okay, in the perception of approval. Okay, this is perception, guys. This is what we perceive as Americans in the United States, okay? Republicans and independents, the gap is so high. The perception of job approval is partisan. This is not good, okay? What this means is we as Americans were polarized, okay? Let's break down a little bit of the data that is on this one here, okay? President's initial February job approval ratings, 1953 to 2025 percentage of approval, okay? So, initial February job approval rating. Trump's second term February job approval ratings, overall it's 45%. Okay, we went over these numbers in just a little bit, but the gap is there. That's very, very, very partisan. Okay, in comparison to Biden's initial February job approval at 56% in 2021, Trump's first term approval in February of 2017 was 40% approval, okay? Obama on his initial February job approval was at 64%. George W. Bush in 2001 was at 62%. Clinton was at 51%. George H.W. Bush in 1989 had a 63 approval rate. Look at that, guys, neck and neck with Obama on the initial February job approval. We're continuing that percentage. Reagan in 1981 had a 55% approval on his initial February job approval ratings since 1953. Prior to that, President Carter had a 71% approval rate on his initial February job approval percentage. Nixon at 60, Kennedy at 72%, and Eisenhower in 67%. So that's just graphically representing what we just broke down here. Okay, as a data analyst, for what I do in my career, in my trade, I'm a data analyst and I love visuals. This really helps to represent. Each poll was conducted entirely in February of each president's first term, except for George H.W. Bush, which was completed Feb 28th to March the 2nd in 89. The latest readings for Donald Trump are for the first Feb of his second non-consecutive presidential term. Again, this data can be downloaded. Trump's current ratings on foreign affairs and the economy are also historically low, compared with early term ratings for other recent presidents. His latest 44% approval rating on foreign affairs, though better than the 38% he earned at the same point in his first term, is lower than those of Biden on foreign affairs at 56%, Barack Obama at 54%, and Clinton at 53%, but similar to George W. Bush, 46%. This is Trump's 44% approval rating on foreign affairs. Okay? He did better in his first term, but he's still at 44, less than George W. Biden with 56, and Barack Obama at 54, and Clinton 53. Republicans plus 8 points and independents plus 7 points are more likely to approve of Trump's handling of foreign affairs now than in 2017, while Democrats' rating of him on the issues are essentially unchanged. Trump's approval rating on the economy now, 42%, is lower than his 48% reading in February of 17, as well as the first-term February ratings for Biden of 54% on the economy, Obama 59% on the economy, and Bush's 53% on the issue, economy. Clinton's 45% economic rating in February of 93, however, was similar to Trump's latest. While 9 in 10 Republicans again approve of Trump's handling of the economy, independents' approval is now 13 points lower at 31%, and Democrats is 8 points lower at 5%. Here's the same exact data, but graphically, okay? This is very, very, very good information on the president's approval on economy, foreign affairs, okay? Here we go. So, on foreign affairs, Trump's second term, he's at 44%. In comparison to Biden, okay, was at 56%, so on and so forth. It's all here graphically. Okay, let's move on. Republicans drive increase in congressional job approval rating. Americans' approval of Congress has jumped 12 points since early January to 29%, which is the highest rating since May 2021. Approval of Congress. Until now, congressional job approval had not risen above. Okay, so right now it's jumped up 12 points. Okay? So the question was, do you approve or disapprove of the way Congress is handling its job? Okay? And then the percentage of approval at 29%. Okay? You can see it year over year. Here it peaked at 33%. And then 2009 March, 39%. And then 84% here. The latest jump in Americans' rating of Congress is mostly owed to a 42-point surge among Republicans, whose improved views are likely the result of their party assuming control of the U.S. House of Representatives, the Senate, and the presidency. Currently, 53% of Republicans approve of the job Congress is doing, along with 25% of independents, up 9 points, and 5% of Democrats, down 18 points. The last time Republican approval of Congress was higher than now was in August of 2005, when Republicans also had control of both chambers and 57% approved of the body. Republicans also had a unified government from 2017 to 2019, and today's rating of Congress among Republicans is similar to the highest reading during that time, 50% in February of 17. Republicans' approval for that Congress ultimately averaged 29%. When Democrats last held the presidency, House and Senate from 2021 to 2023, their approval of Congress was as high as 61% in 2021 and averaged 40% for that session. Likewise, from 2009 to 2011, their Democratic control of both chambers and the presidency, a high of 63% of Democrats approved of Congress in May of 2009. Congressional approval also averaged 40% among Democrats for that session. Okay, so here's that chart that I showed you guys earlier. Each party's record high approval rating of Congress was recorded in 2001 and in the wake of the 9/11 terrorist attacks on the U.S., when Americans rallied around their government and institutions. About a month after the attacks, Republicans' congressional approval was 89%, Democrats was 82%, and independents at 81%. That was the congressional approval post 9/11. Bottom line, Republicans' widespread approval of Trump's overall job performance and his handling of immigration, foreign affairs, foreign trade, the economy, and the situations in Ukraine and the Middle East is not enough to earn him majority level ratings among all Americans. That is because independents like me, their approval of the president is weak and Democrats is nearly non existent. Trump's first two job approval ratings have both been below 50% due to relatively low support among independents, which I consider myself an independent, similar to his first term but lower than what Biden enjoyed early in his term. Like Trump, Biden registered exceedingly high approval from his party but very low approval from the opposition. Very, very partisan. This is the summary here. We as America only get even more polarized. Republicans are also pushing overall approval of Congress to its highest point in more than 2 years, as they seek to enact Trump's policy agenda. However, history has shown that partisan approval tends to fade somewhat after an initial honeymoon period. Okay, guys? So this is what I wanted to go over with you here with Borders and Beyond. I just wanted to go over this polling with you because it's very, very, very polarized. I want you guys to know that it's 2025. America, we have to get it together. We are polarized, okay? The perception is not necessarily the truth. I understand that perception rules, but it doesn't mean that what we're perceiving is the truth. And that can be said of both Republicans and Democrats and independents, okay? I'm just making a point that we are heading in the wrong direction, okay? We're becoming more polarized. It's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. We've got to get more involved. And that's one of the reasons why I do this, to be honest with you. One of the reasons why I'm very intentional about, as an American, educating myself more and more, because this gap is crazy, okay? And I want to end it here. This gap is just ridiculous. We should not be having an 89% gap of an approval rating of our American president, Donald Trump, with an approval rate of Republicans 93%, Democrats 4%, and Independents 37%. What do you guys think? I want you guys to let me know what you guys think about what you just saw. I want you to comment below on what you perceive about what's happening to the United States. Polarization. We've been polarized. We continue to head in the wrong direction, meaning more and more polarization. Let me know your thoughts. Y'all have a blessed day. Cecilia with Beyond the Borders, checking out.